Hey ho, all you pups and wolves out there. Today I decided to do a video for the announcement of Silent Hill 1 Remake. Is actually in development and it actually kind of scares me. So I'm doing this video hoping this message really reaches Konami and Blooper Team, okay? And for those who are Silent Hill fans. Okay, and the reason why I'm here is to explain the situation of Silent Hill 1, all right? And the problems with Silent Hill 2 remake, okay? And the problem that I have with when it comes to the whole Silent Hill 2 remake is that they took the whole survival psychological horror of what Silent Hill 2 really was, okay? And they did make a lot of mistakes when it came to Silent Hill 2 Remake that I wish that, true Silent Hill fans would actually explain to them what the issues are. But the problem is because of how modern audiences are today, they enjoy action horror games, and that I do understand. And that's why Silent Hill 2 Remake did very good, because it appealed to modern audiences that enjoy action horror. I don't mind action horror games and stuff like that because I did enjoy Resident Evil 2 Remake. And I know there are a lot of people who said that, Resident Evil 2 didn't stay faithful to the original. That I do understand because I was irritated with certain situations with Resident Evil 2 Remake, but I actually enjoyed that more. Would you be surprised? Than the Resident Evil 2 original. But I still think the Resident Evil 2 original had more to offer when it came to its map designs and when it came to a second playthrough for the second character. Okay, they did way more in the original than they did for the remake, and that was actually a very, very disappointing. Okay, when it came to the remake. And that's why Resident Evil 3 didn't do too well. Resident Evil 3 Remake didn't do too well because they cut even more content from the original in Resident Evil 3, and that pissed a lot of fans off, okay? And that's why Resident Evil 3 Remake didn't do too well when it came to Resident Evil 2 Remake, alright? Because Resident Evil 2 Remake at least tried to stay faithful to what Resident Evil 2 represented back in the day. So, like I said, I really enjoyed Resident Evil, but the only reason why I enjoyed Resident Evil 2 Remake as well is I played it on hardcore mode. Okay, where you literally had to find increments to save, you had to conserve your ammo and your health, you had to dodge and evade certain enemies in certain areas. You literally could not miss bullets, okay? So when you play Resident Evil 2 hardcore mode, that was more of the traditional survival horror game, okay, of what Resident Evil 2 should be. And that's why I really loved Resident Evil 2 Remake, was to that kind of concept of Resident Evil. Now, I have not tried any of the other modes because I find the other modes, like standard or easy, unfaithful to Resident Evil 2 Remake. So I never even bothered playing that because it wasn't the spirit of Resident Evil. Now, hardcore was, okay? And the reason why I'm bringing up Resident Evil games is because Resident Evil games actually fit more towards the action horror genre because of the characters that are involved in those types of worlds and what the character background is and how they develop in the Resident Evil games, okay? Is a major, major difference. Where Silent Hill games protagonists are in there in one game only. I know Harry does show up in a couple of games, like Shattered Memories in the Book of Memories. So that is fine, okay? Because that is more of trying to go back to what the original character was and trying to develop that character more, okay? That's fine, alright? But they actually focused on more of the past when it came to that because of Harry's experience in Silent Hill 1. Makes more sense, okay? So, when it comes to, like I said, character development in Silent Hill, you don't get really character development except for just that one game. You don't hear any of these characters returning back in other games, okay? Even Silent Hill 3, we play Heather. We're not playing Cheryl because the whole thing in Silent Hill 1 with Cheryl and Alyssa is a completely different situation when it comes to Heather. Okay? So Heather is a completely new character when it comes to the Silent Hill 3 series, even though she is in Silent Hill 1 as a baby. Okay? But, again, they're not focusing on Harry, they're focusing on Heather in Silent Hill 3. So, again, a lot of these characters don't fit the whole action horror genre, especially when it comes to Silent Hill 1 because of who Harry truly is. Harry is literally an innocent man, and all he cares about is the love for his daughter and to save her in Silent Hill. Alright? That's like literally what Harry is doing in the game. So anything you're facing in Silent Hill is not the manifestation of Harry's subconscious and conscious mind. Okay? All the monsters that are created are actually from Alyssa herself. Okay? So this is another reason why Silent Hill 2 Remake didn't do too well, was because they were trying to set Silent Hill 2 up more of a... It was like all in James's head, and what James did is the one who did all of this. And it's like, no, that's not how it actually works. And when you play the original Silent Hill 2, you ever notice how much they try to keep everything as a mystery? That they were trying not to, change concept, but to keep it more in the shadows where people will think about the situation but not get right correctly. Alright, that's how the original was actually done when it came to the storyline, because they didn't want to link any of it to Silent Hill 1, okay? Because they didn't want to change the concept of Silent Hill 1. So they kept things as a mystery when it came to Silent Hill 2, where fucking Bloober Team tries to fucking explain shit in Silent Hill 2 Remake. Did not go too well, okay? At least in my perspective, because of what Silent Hill 1 represents. Okay, so when it comes to Silent Hill 2, and this is where a lot of Silent Hill 2 fans do get a lot of things, wrong, in a way. I'm not saying that they are, they don't know what they're talking about. It's the fact that it's because Silent Hill kept mystery. So that's why everybody has their own opinions when it comes to Silent Hills 2 and its storyline. But when you play Silent Hill 1, it changes that perspective. The reason why I know that is because I played Silent Hill 2 first when it first came out and never played Silent Hill 1. Once I played Silent Hill 1, that's when I realized what Silent Hill truly is. Because I thought that James was manifesting all this shit himself, that it was just only him who sees all this shit. But once I played Silent Hill 1, everything became clear for me. Okay, and I do understand the position that Silent Hill 2 fans are when it comes to theories. Okay, and I was there too, where I made mistakes in the theories until I played Silent Hill 1 to realize, no, that's not how the whole experience of Silent Hill works in Silent Hill 2. Alright? In actuality, when it comes to the Silent Hill 1 storyline, it's not that, We create the monsters when we go to Silent Hill. It's actually an entity that creates these monsters that we manifest from our subconscious and conscious mind, from our worldly desires, our sins, and worldly possessions. Okay, because this is what affects our subconscious and conscious minds to manifest these monsters. But it's not the protagonist that creates these monsters. It's actually the entity that creates these monsters that Alyssa takes control over in the first game. And this gets all explained in the first game because Alyssa's the one who's creating these monsters. Okay? And James can see these monsters. If that was the case, it should be... not James, sorry. Harry sees these monsters, okay? If that was the case, James should be seeing different types of nightmarish monsters that he faces. It should be coming from his conscious and subconscious mind, but it isn't. And the fact that Harry is an innocent man, just like Laura is an innocent little girl in Silent Hill 2, they should not be in the Silent Hill world seeing this shit. At least that's what people theorize, but that is not true, okay? Because of Silent Hill 1, Harry enters Alyssa's nightmare realm, okay? That's the fucking key, and this is the things I have to explain to people when it comes to Angela's nightmare realm as well. James walks into Angela's nightmare realm to face the abstract daddy that Angela created, not James, okay? Angela, okay? And I know people theorize, oh, well, it looks like a bed and all this shit. Well, what do you think Angela was raped on? By her father and brothers. So, yes, that's the representation of the abstract daddy, is that it's supposed to represent a rapist. Okay? Did James get raped? Did he rape Mary? No. That was all towards Angela. So that's why James can see Angela's nightmare creatures. Okay? And this includes that if anybody who walks into James's nightmare realm would see his monsters too. Okay? Because that's how the whole experience of Silent Hill works. Okay, and Bloober Team kind of screwed that up in Silent Hill 2 Remake. Alright? And that's why I wanted them to do Silent Hill 1 Remake first, so they can actually understand the concept of what Silent Hill is. By doing Silent Hill 2 Remake, you're losing that concept of understanding what Silent Hill is, and that's one of the things that made me mad about Silent Hill 2 Remake. Alright, I am a huge Silent Hill fan. I fucking love Silent Hill games. Silent Hill is my number one game. It's placed in third place for all the games I played, okay? Because it's actually Metroid, Legends of Zelda, then Silent Hill. Alright, those are my top 3 favorite franchise when it comes to gaming, okay? I enjoy those games the fucking most. So when it came to Silent Hill 2 Remake, it was disappointing. That's why I give it 5 out of 10, because they did not understand the true spirit of Silent Hill. Alright? Now, after doing... Just to let you know, I did do a Silent Hill 2 Remake no dodge run. And oh my god, that was fucking tough. And not just that, it showed me that Silent Hill 2 Remakes has some really bad mechanics. And those mechanics are actually similar towards Dark Soul-like games. Okay? Because one of the things that they focus on is dodge. Okay? Dodge is a major mechanic when it comes to Dark Souls-like games. And they heavily imply that mechanic into Silent Hill 2 Remake, okay? Because, for one thing, enemies have a lock-on, like Dark Souls, okay? So no matter what, the enemies can follow you anywhere, and hit you at a very long distance to the point where they can actually teleport on you. That I don't fucking understand when it comes to the enemies. Alright, because I have seen this with the mannequins and the nurses. Where I try to back away, then next thing you know, they somehow teleport so fast right in your face and hits you. And it's very tough if you don't use no dodge mechanic, because you're always constantly getting hit. You can't run away because of that long range distance. You can't shift left or right because of that lock on mechanic. Alright? That is literally a Dark Soul-like mechanic right there already. The other thing that I had issues during the run was the stealth mechanic was terrible. Okay? Because it was so hard to sneak up on enemies in that game because of how their awareness is. And just to let you know, their enemies' awareness, self-awareness, is broken. Okay, because there's times where the enemy spots me and I try to run away. I try to run away as far as possible, at least 2 to 3 blocks away, it feels like. Okay, and they will still follow you. Okay, at least the AI program is still programmed to follow you. Okay, there are rare chances that the enemy might pull off of you, but it all has to depend on their awareness mechanics. Okay. And at a certain distance. It is weird. Like I said, the awareness in this game is fucking broken. Compared to what the original was a completely different experience for it. Alright? Because one of the things in the original, the flashlight would get enemies' attention. No matter what. You had to turn your fucking flashlight off for you to get the enemy off of you. Not in this game. The flashlight is just basically for you to see shit. That's it. It's not meant for anything else. You can leave your flashlight on and the enemies will not fucking spot you compared to the original. That's a major fucking change to the mechanics. Okay. The other thing is that when an enemy self-awareness doesn't recognize the player at a certain distance or a certain amount of time, they fucking back off. Unless it's on hard mode. Okay? Even hard mode mechanics were done differently when you had to go face enemies. Because, yes, their self-awareness was actually upped more when it comes to hard mode to the original. But they wouldn't attack you. Okay? If that makes sense. If you have your flashlight off. They'll notice noise and certain things, but they'll just come over there and try and figure out what the fuck is going on with your flashlight off because they cannot see you. Just to show you how well the game mechanics were done in the original for the enemy's awareness. Compared to this one, it's fucking bad. Okay? So, because I did a no-dodge run for Silent Hill 2 Remake, I found more issues. And because I found more issues, I dropped it from 5 out of 10 to 3 out of 10 now. Okay, because they use Dark Souls like mechanics in a way. And it's like, dude, what is this? More action than horror? Holy shit. That means that you have to face the enemies and you have to use the dodge button because this game relies on the dodge mechanic so fucking much. Gee, I wonder what other game does that. Dark Souls-like games, like Elden Ring. That's not what Silent Hill needs, okay? So that's why I'm doing this video, to give Konami and Bloober Team a message, because I am not happy with the Silent Hill state, because we're starting to become more Resident Evil direction. When we shouldn't be. When Silent Hill, the whole purpose of Silent Hill is to be opposite of Resident Evil storyline. Alright? Where Resident Evil deals with biohazard, Silent Hill deals with the supernatural. Biohazard weaponry leads to more action horror type of game. Supernatural leads to survival horror aspects. Okay, and that's what Silent Hill really is actually a supernatural experience more than anything, because of who the original creator was to the Silent Hill 1 games. Okay, and the Silent Hill 1 creator is called, I might be butchering his name, is called Kichiro Toyomo. Okay, he was the original creator to the Silent Hill series. Okay, he was the one who made Silent Hill 1. Okay, after that, he left to do other projects, and that's when Team Silent took over. All right, that's why Silent Hill 2, 3, how they did the storyline was to keep the true essence of what Silent Hill 1 storyline is, and to keep it more of a mystery, so it doesn't destroy the storyline of the Silent Hill series. And they did a fucking brilliant job on that. Okay? Where Bloober Team is trying to explain that shit, and it's like, no, don't explain any of that shit. Okay? Because that was the whole point of Silent Hill 2 and 3, is to keep that shit a mystery, to keep people guessing. Okay, because again, the original creator left, so it was harder to expand the world without the original creator. Okay, because those who try to come in and try to take a concept of their own, they change shit. Okay, and when they change shit, it can ruin the experience and storyline of that game. So again, they didn't fuck with that, where Bloober Team did, and that was a no-no. Alright? And like I said, I do find a lot of issues when it comes to Silent Hill 2 Remake storyline. And they said they would stay faithful. That's bullshit. That is full on bullshit. They did not stay 100% faithful, okay, to the storyline, because they change and manipulate clip scenes. Alright? For one thing, bowling alley scene was changed. Well, that's not staying faithful. They changed certain dialogues to certain characters, okay, to fit more of the narrative towards Bloober's Team's direction. Bad idea, okay? Like, for instance, the beginning scene, when he talks, he remembers the locations of where Mary went, thus showing he does have feelings for Mary, and that he was in love with Mary, to remember these types of information. Okay? By having James not remembering this shit, it made him seem like a fucking dumbass that didn't care for his fucking wife. Alright? So having him remember this shit was fucking important. Okay? That's why I'm saying they did change, manipulate cutscenes. That's not staying faithful. I'm sorry. Alright? And they are doing their own type of storyline, with the 20-year fucking time loop theory bullshit. Okay? Because no, that was more of a theory. It was not established in the Silent Hill 2 games. Okay? They're not having a time loop. That is bullshit. It has not been 20 years that he's been stuck in this time loop. That is a Bloober Team decision. Bad decision, okay? Same thing with the whole dead wife in the back seat for in the water scene was terribly done. Because how it represents James and how he deals with his wife passing on, okay? Because it's saying that, oh, all this shit was in his head. He never went to Silent Hill. His wife's always been in the backseat this whole time. No. If you go to the original and get in the water ending, okay, it is completely different. But this has to do with James's redemption. Okay? And how and which ending you get that depends on his redemption. Okay? In the water, he literally is talking to Mary on her deathbed, okay? And she talks to him, alright? telling him that he needs to move on. But depending on which ending you get is going to depend on James's action. In this case, he doesn't feel like he should be redeemed, okay, when he's talking to his wife. And when his wife finally dies, he picks her up off the bed, carries her. Then you hear in the black screen, a car burning on the street into the fucking water. Alright? Because of how that scene represents James's redemption. That he felt like he shouldn't be redeemed for his actions for what he did to his wife. Okay? That was very, very important. Alright? And they changed that whole fucking scene completely, making it sound like it was all in James's head. No. The whole point of that scene was to show that whole experience that James went through was real. Why he picks up his wife and goes back to the car is so he can kill himself so he can be with his wife when he kills himself. Okay? That was the whole point of the ending when it came to Into the Water. Alright? And that pisses me off. But when he does accept redemption, okay, and once he talks to Mary, and when Mary dies on the bed, he walks away, showing he was willing to move on. Okay, then he gets Lore, and they leave Silent Hill, showing James finally redeemed himself. All right, so that's the thing that really pissed me off about the whole changes of the cutscenes, is that they destroyed the concept of what Silent Hill 2 represented when it came to the storyline. Okay? Bloober Team, I'm sorry, but you should not try to establish your own ideas into a Silent Hill game that was meant to be mysterious to begin with. Okay? Just to give you guys an idea, when it comes to Silent Hill, The Room, okay, Team Silent struggled with the timeline the most when it came to the game with this game, and that's why the timeline is all over the fucking place, because they couldn't figure how to piece Silent Hill all at once, okay? Because technically, if that was the case, Silent Hill actually takes place before The Room, okay? Yes, because you meet James's father. Alright? Again, does not make sense to the storyline now. You get what I'm saying? So they're trying really hard to piece 1, 2, in their own storyline as one. It's all over the place, okay? That I do actually understand. Team Silent struggled with that shit. Okay? So... with those types of understanding of what Silent Hill really is, Bloober Team does not understand that concept, okay? Now, I would love to come in to help Bloober Team with these types of situations and work with Konami, because I actually have way bigger ideas than fucking, what Bloober Team has in mind, okay? I'm telling you, I would take Silent Hill to a much beyond what Silent Hill is, okay? And make it even more popular, because I understand what Silent Hill truly is, okay? And the concept of the storyline of Silent Hill games, okay? I even have great fucking ideas to doing a remake for Silent Hill 1, and I'm afraid that Bloober Team's going to mess it up. So I'm going to give these ideas out, alright? The first idea is that we need to make Silent Hill a bigger fucking town. Actually, we need to build a model of fucking Silent Hill. The town itself, okay, would be a fucking brilliant idea, and use that model, okay, to build the actual town of Silent Hill. All right, for tourists that would love to see Silent Hill itself. And the place where I would choose to make a Silent Hill town would be Maine, because the original Silent Hill 1 is more close to Maine because of Kichiro Toyomo is a huge fan of Stephen King books. And guess where a lot of Stephen King books are based on? Maine. So it would make more sense to build a Silent Hill town in Maine, okay? Because Maine gets really fucking foggy, for instance. Alright? So I would actually take certain location of Maine, look around, look for the best lake, make that lake Toluca Lake, okay? Build around that lake for the Silent Hill town to give a better visualization of how to build Silent Hill, okay? And like I said, I would love to make an actual town of Silent Hill in Maine if Silent Hill 1 was a very huge success, okay? And use the models of the designs that people would actually see in real life. Would be such a great experience for Silent Hill fans, okay? So that's the first idea I would be presenting to Konami, is that first things first, we're building a model of the town of Silent Hill, because if Silent Hill becomes a huge hit, we can actually build a town that actually brings in more profit to Konami itself, that they actually would be making more money off of this. All right, is the first thing I would do. Second thing, I make sure Silent Hill 1 is more of an open exploration type of game, because that's how Silent Hill 1 and 2 were made. Okay, they were open exploration. All right, and that is very, very, very important when it comes to Silent Hill 1, because of how they do the first area. You literally had to go look for keys. 4 keys, okay? And they were spread out throughout the town. At least the first part of Old Town Silent Hill. Okay? So, open exploration is very important to this game because it heavily relies on it. Okay? So, that's the second thing I would be focusing on. The third thing I would be focusing on is making Silent Hill bigger to explore. More buildings to go into, actually. And instead of finding all the items and health on the streets, you should be going into a lot of the suburban houses and buildings to find this shit. That is one of the improvements I would do for the Silent Hill 1 game, is make sure you go into a lot of these houses and buildings to find your ammo and health. Would be such a great, huge improvement. Alright? So, that would actually even give more exploration to the Silent Hill game. Okay? So, that is the third thing I would be focusing for sure. Now, the fourth thing is that I would be focusing more on the concept of history and lore to the Silent Hill games, and to explain more of history and lore to the town of Silent Hill. And that would be more of catastrophes, bad shit that has happened to people, okay? Things that cannot be explained of a supernatural way is how I would be doing the history and lore. For instance, one of the ideas that I thought would be brilliant is to bring in ghost spirits, because it would fit towards the Silent Hill concept that feels right. Alright, so when it comes to, like I was saying with Silent Hill 1, bringing in the ghost, like in Silent Hill 4, could bring the spirit of what Silent Hill feels when it comes to the Silent Hill 4 game, The Room. Alright? So, when it, when I would be dealing when it comes with the ghost mechanics, it's more of a learning of their history and past and what bad experience they have gone through. And to give it more of a horror feeling. Like when you enter these houses, that these spirits are more active, okay? And it gives a more of a horror aspect to the game. So when you go into these houses to explore these side missions, you can say, or side quests, something you can do on the side to learn more of what happened to these victims. Alright? I think would be such a brilliant idea to the Silent Hill explanations of its lore and history. But that's more towards the catastrophe of those victims that what happened to them in Silent Hill, kind of like the whole Walter Sullivan cases. You know, having some of the Walter Sullivan cases would be such a great idea to learn more of what happened to those victims in Silent Hill 1. So those are the type of the ideas that I would do as well. All right. The other thing I would make sure is to establish more characters, but to make sure that these characters actually fit well in the storyline. Like having Claudia, okay? And having Claudia at a young age working with Dahlia would help expand the storyline to Silent Hill The Room, okay? I mean, Silent Hill 3, sorry, with Heather. I would love to also bring in a teacher and a principal to help to explain the whole Alyssa situation when she was at school. Alright? I would have Lisa's boyfriend in it as a huge druggie. And I would have Dr. Hoffman be having to deal with his the one who he supplies drugs to. Okay, so like I said, by having more characters, but to fit the narrative of that story and to expand the storyline that fits with the characters of that story, if that makes sense. All right, so that's the other thing I would do with the Silent Hill 1 game. All right, not just that, you can also add side missions, you know, side quests that these new characters can set you off, thus giving more exploration to the game. Okay, that means that you may have to go back to certain buildings that you found locked. Then the only way to get into these buildings is by bumping into these new characters that can give you these side quests that helps improves the storyline and adds more to the storyline. Okay, I think is actually a brilliant idea, because that means you have to backtrack now. You have to go back to, you know, where you first began or to this area. So it gives, like I said, more of backtracking for exploration. Okay, and it actually gives more to do to the game. All right, but again, it's a survival horror game. That means wherever you pick up in these houses, any type of ammo you already grabbed is not going to be there anymore. Thus, when you backtrack, you have to even be more stealthier, more strategic. You gotta find ways to get away from enemies, thus giving it more of a horror factor again. Okay? Now, I don't mind using third person. I think third person is fine for Silent Hill games, because a lot of Silent Hill games are actually based on a over-the-shoulder camera that works with fixed camera angles, okay? So Silent Hill was always, in a way, a third person, so that never bothered me, okay? Now, I would not be adding dodge mechanics to this game because all it will do will drag the game down even more, like it did for Silent Hill 2 Remake. And I know there are those who do love the dodge mechanic, but you guys don't realize that the dodge mechanic turns this game into an action horror game, when it doesn't need to be an action horror game. What it needs to be is a supernatural survival horror game. Okay? So that's the thing I would be focusing on, is that I would make sure that the combat mechanics fits well with the enemy's attack patterns, to make sure that the enemies have their own special attacks, that intensifies the gameplay, that tells you should run away type of situations. Okay? It's telling you that fear is taking over if you have to run away from a fight. Okay, and that's one of the things that Silent Hill 1 and 2 fucking do great. Especially 1. Okay, 1 is very, very important, that you should not fight everything. Okay, because if you try to fight everything, you're going to burn through more ammo. Okay, you're going to burn through more health. And this is literally what Silent Hill 1 is like. Okay, if you face the enemies, it's not gonna be like what is in Silent Hill 2, alright? Because Silent Hill 2 has a much easier combat mechanic than Silent Hill 1 has. So, yes, Silent Hill 1 is based more survival than anything else. And that is very, very important. So, that's one of the things I figure I'd point out. These are the ideas that I have for the Silent Hill 1 game, okay? And that, like I said, Bloober Team would love to talk to me. I said Konami and Bloober Team would love to set up a meeting with me. I would gladly do that. I would fucking fly down to Konami to work with them, okay? Not for them, with them. So they can get things correctly. Alright? And that's one of the things I would love to do, is become a game director, someone who can come into these game companies and put them in the right directions when making these games, because I've been playing games since I was fucking 2 years old. I'm fucking almost 39, telling you that I actually have almost 37 years of experience with gaming. So I can tell you literally what is good for gaming and what is not good for gaming, okay? Now, when it comes to the Silent Hill 2 remake situation, I do agree. Okay, I actually do agree that action horror is the thing, okay? And I do understand Bloober Team's way of direction when it comes to that. I get it. But the problem with action horror games is that, what you said, there's too many of them being made, and soon people will get sick of action horror games when you make way too many of them. Okay? So, what we actually do need to focus when it comes to the Silent Hill game is to go towards a different genre. Okay? That people can actually enjoy. That they don't need to rely on action horror games. Okay? Instead, we can actually get people to enjoy survival horror games. Okay? Great example, Alien Isolation. Fucking brilliant game when it comes to a survival horror game. And that was done in a first-person shooter game. It didn't even need tank controls or a fixed camera angle. Alright? And guess what? People loved Alien Isolation. They adored Alien Isolation because of the survival horror aspects of it. Where marine colonies did horrible. But, alright, I should actually stop. This has been about 45 minutes for a video, but I figure I'd point this out and explain my points of view of what Silent Hill games need to be. And I hope, for those who watch this video, understands that fact. Okay, especially when it comes to Konami and Blooper Team. All right. So this is my message for Blooper Team and Konami. If you guys truly want Silent Hill to be even more successful, like I said, take my ideas that I put on this video, take my explanations to heart, and if you want me to come to help, I'd be glad to. All right. But for now, we're going to end this video, and I will be back on later on to play Dune Awakening. So around 4 or 5 o'clock. All right. Other than that, I'll catch all you pups and wolves till then. All right. Peace out.